I told them like this bedroom is so big, and I don't want when I'm getting up, I have to go all the way to the corridor and switch on the lights. I want like a switch on top of the bed. So when I want the light, I just even with my eyes closed, I just move my hand around and turn on the light or turn off the light. That worked so well in the first year. And then we get a humongous bed. A humongous bed. Now the bed head covers the switch. So every time I want to switch that thing, like I forget to switch off the light from the corridor, right? Now I want to switch off the light. And then I have to stick my fingers, like I was like, and then I said, I was like, I'm in technology. Why did I even think of like light that I can control with an app? Those are all the mistakes that I wish anyway, in the event that I'm gonna do it again, I think I know better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate the rigorous process. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
learn. You get to learn. You get to actually, find out the things you care about. like,
Hello, and welcome to another Lived Quality conversation on the Lived Quality podcast. Today, I'm privileged to be joined by Robert, Emily, and there may be other people who join in the middle. Who knows? So, you've both been on the show before, so welcome back. It's really good to have you once again. And our entry point for this conversation today is going to be about the mortgage experience. Like uh, what does it what does getting a mortgage mean for you? Is it something worth getting? Is it something you shouldn't get at all? uh, what are the factors to consider, if you're trying to get into that big debt, or it's just not going for it like a plausible thing that you should do. What are the sides to this that we should consider? And the reason this conversation is coming about is there's been a lot of changes in the economy, and I've met personally a few people who've been asking about mortgages and a lot of advice. They want to know, how do you get in? What's the right time to get into the market? What should you consider? And so I felt like this is a worthwhile conversation for us to dive into and see how we go. So, welcome both of you. So maybe to start it off, like for myself personally, I do have a mortgage. It's for me, like having grown up in Uganda, and I think I told you, Robert, once, like when I just comes, like I had this Ugandan dream, right? Like my dream, like go to school, uh, finish school, find a job, get married, get a house. Then maybe you can die at that point, right? Or start a business. But like over time, I guess you have to reinvent your dreams. You have to kind of like as you walk through whatever the targets you set, you kind of get to a place where you have to reevaluate. Uh, so at some point, uh, the opportunity came, and it was like, oh my God, maybe it would be a good chance to try and get into the housing market. But my getting into the housing market was more like my Ugandan dreams. Like, oh my God, I have a chance of getting a house. What? I should go for it. Uh, and then once you go through the nitty gritty, at some point you realize, oh, it's a bit different from how I imagined it. This is more like getting into a debt, but then paying a huge amount so that you can maintain the privilege of living in the premise like an owner, not someone who has to submit to certain other regulations. And so it's like you still have to pay for it, but at least now you're allowed maybe to make some changes, and you won't have a lot of scrutiny on you, but you will have different circumstances. But anyway, long story short, for me, that I guess like it was still inspired by that dream that kind of like, you have to do this, you have to do this. And so, anyways, it was a no-brainer. I had to do it, and so I did it. I don't regret it. I think it was the right thing to do. I At this point where I am, I still feel it's the right thing to do. I don't know what to advise someone who's just coming into it, because my reasons for doing it, man, they were not as complex. And my situation I was in at the time, there was very few variables to consider. And so it was kind of like, you just need to switch from this to that. Stop being someone who is paying monthly rent, because I looked at my rent ledger. Like we had rented this place for about 3 years. You looked at it, you had paid like over 30 grand in rent. Like, so if I ever leave this place, that's money down the drain. I'm not allowing that, right? Like at least maybe I invest in a mortgage so that if I ever decide to leave, I can recoup some of that money back. And so those were some of the motivations. But of course, once you go into a certain direction, you run into some other challenges. It's like, oh, now market goes up, market goes down, the interest rates go up, interest rates go down, equity, and basically different problems. But the question to you guys, and I don't know who wants to go first, is what was your experience like? And where are you now in that journey? And maybe what sort of recommendations would you have for people who are interested in getting into this space? And maybe also what motivated you guys.
Uh,
Emily, you want to
why
start?
why Emily? Okay. Um where am I in the mortgage space? I think I'm at a point of am I sure this was the right decision? Because I listened to many, not many, but some podcasts, some financial podcasts, and there is this financial expert who says that it's not a good idea to actually have a mortgage. And the reasons that he gives make me go like, that's actually a good point. However, I ask myself, am I in that position to actually leverage from not having a mortgage? So he says that, this is how I understood it, because someone might understand it a different way. Because he says he has rented for over 25 years and has made a huge profit. Um, not a profit. He's an entrepreneur, so he's made a lot of money. He's now a millionaire, but he still pays rent, and it doesn't make sense to have a mortgage because you are paying for a house and then you're paying rent at the same time. That's the interest that comes with the mortgage. And I'm like, that is so right. It's not like I left the rent hood. It still exists, and it actually is pricier nowadays considering the economic situation.
Yeah.
I mean, during COVID, it probably made sense because it wasn't that high, but it is significant even when the interest rate is like 1%. It's a really huge number because house costs a lot. Um, on the other side on the flip side of things, I don't regret. One of the biggest motivations that I had for owning a house. It's not yet mine, but I own it because there is no one who comes every 6 months to inspect. There is no one knocking at my door. Hey, you haven't paid rent. Um, and like I can call it like on the deed, I can on the title, it's my name. Like I can actually call it mine. When I say come visit me, you're coming to mine. I can get you a room. I have a little one here who writes on the walls, and I'm not afraid of losing my bond. So
Mm.
those are the small benefits. However, the huge benefit is that I'm owning this for myself. There were very many words spoken. So to sort of contrast with the financial expert, I'm like, if I had not taken the route of having a mortgage, would I actually have invested as well as he did, to the extent of becoming a millionaire. He lives in the US, so he's a US dollar millionaire. Um, and the answer really is no, because right now I'm just learning investments and all these things, and all the things that he talks about, the index funds and all that and all that. But at the end of the day, for the value that I was looking for, if I chose like, you know what, I'm done. Australia is not my home anymore. I want to go back home. I live with something, so I can
Mm.
start with something, so I can dispose of this place and live with something, which
Yeah.
is something that I think is so much better than going back home and everyone is asking, "You were in Bulaya doing what?" So, yeah, that's my perspective.
No, that's really good, and it's quite interesting. You raised something about, at least from what I was hearing, you raised something about a home, right? And at least that's the sense I'm getting from that description. Because like you are looking for, yeah, a homely environment. And I guess that's why they call it a home loan. It's like you have a home, but it's on loan. Right?
Mm,
But you can have home for some time, right? It's like, you treat it like your home, as opposed to when even the privileges are reduced, and you still have to incur the same costs anyways. Um, I don't know, because like for me that deeply resonates with me, because I found like that was one of the things I was looking was like, man, I just want a home, right? Especially as an immigrant, when you move to a different place, your sense of home like really shifts, and so to reground it can be really challenging, especially with the community and all these things, a different way of life. So for me personally, I found that the concept of redefining a home was really important. But then now, how do you get a home? And so that was also a motivator in that direction. But anyway, Robert, what was it like for you, and how did you end up in your scenario?
Well, I I think at this point in time, I I wake up one day, I'm regretting why I put all this. I'm putting all this money on top of maintenance that I have to do, which incrementally is growing. And then on the other hand, I look at what is happening. I'm like, I think this is a great investment because so many developments are happening where I am. And for me, I look at it like, okay, well, when push comes to shove, in the end, this is like an asset, sort
Yeah.
of. Um, I've also watched a lot of, stuff online, and it depends on who is telling the story. There are people who tell the story based on where they are, um, and that could be either from a privilege position or from experience or from academic. It's all flares. Um, how I ended up in this situation is some of the reasons Emily said. Like I just didn't want this. A kid has maybe done something on the wall, and then you have like, hey, we are coming for inspection. Then you have to figure out a way to repair that. I'm like, in my own, I'm like, well, let it be there as long as it's not leaking or anything. I will get to it when I have to get to it.
Yeah.
I also got into it in a way that I feel, um, you know, paying rent at the time felt like, shoving the money into a dish. Once everything was said and done, you just walk away. And so the side of me that regrets this is because um, I've now known enough that if I was putting more of that money, because if I was renting, I would be paying way less than what I'm paying for my mortgage. Maybe part of that money could have gone for some sort of investment that gives me a return. Um, but the side that really thinks I made a great decision is because at the time, I didn't have the luxury to have a lot of money lying around. So I'm like, if I can take a portion of this and make sure I'm not impacted because I miss a rent or anything, I rather put that money knowing that in a given period of time, if I want to sell, I can just sell it. Maybe I will
Mm,
sell at a loss, or maybe I will have some profit out of it.
mm,
And for the most part, it's actually the good side because of development happening and the value just keeps going up. Um, so I'm just tossing between, but I do have a lot of advantages that at this point outweigh the disadvantages.
mm.
Yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, no, that's quite interesting because, like, if anyone doesn't know, like, about the like maybe some of the rental regulations that we're speaking towards, right? Like over here, for example, there's what they call the RTA. It's like a rental body that regulates the rental market, and there's a lot of rules there that you have to adhere to as a tenant. And I think, like in most, you'd say, first world cities, this is probably the case. Uh, However, it may not be the case in all of the world, right? But just to unpack that a little, it's like if you are a person with, let's say, young children living in a place where you rent, uh, for everything that happens to that place, right? You know, like it's all written in the contract, like, uh, anything drawn on the wall or whatever, like some change happens to the carpet, all these have to kind of like be addressed by you, the tenant. And there's these regular inspections that happen by the property managers, uh, sort of like walking through that. And if you let's say, for example, like me, where I grew up, like this was never the case. So it's like you feel like every time someone has to come and walk through your home, it loses its homeliness. It's like, oh, it's like a reminder. It's like, oh, this is not your place. Sorry. So you better, you know, prepare for the master or whatever, that kind of
Yeah,
sense of thing. And so there's always that discomfort and that aftertaste of like, oh my God, I have to always be uh, submissive to this structure that, regulates this space, uh, which sort of like drops when you go into like home ownership. And in there you have a bit more flexibility. You, of course, there's still regulation because like if you wanted to change a wall in your house, you actually need to go to the council and get approval for that. Like that, you shouldn't be causing yourself more danger. Uh, I think that's where it comes from, part of that. Uh, but essentially, that idea of having intrusion in your home and lack of stability, I think it deeply feeds into the idea of what home is. Like, because like home is meant to be like a stable thing that doesn't change, and you have lots of freedom to do with as you please. And so it's a difficult thing to earn. And so that's why for me, now I go and wonder, like when you take out the monetary side of things, it's like we could argue the financial side of things and there's ups and downs. What I'm curious about now is like if you decided to be like a lifelong renter, right? How does that fit with your sense for home, the sense of home? Like if we describe it that way, I don't know. Like personally, I feel like that's the thing that you sort of give up. Now, maybe like you're just an individual and you have no dependents, and it's just a matter of like you can be anywhere, do whatever. Uh, but if you're raising a small family, that comes with its challenges, and I don't know how you can cultivate that sense when you don't have the certainty of that you can sustain the same environment for an extended period of time. Uh, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
Yeah. So for I guess I want to bring the concept of age into it. Um so I also like I don't know I've over time over I think since 2015 2014 I was trying to improve my financial literacy. And there is a lot of trends that have gone by, and you can tell that, hey, there is certain generations that care for stability, and then as time goes by, people are just looking for access more than that stability. So
Mm,
someone would prefer to rent because they know that maybe in the next 6 months I might want to live in a different place, I might want to go and experience a different country, I might want to, and now COVID came and made everything worse in the sense for the jobs or the yeah the occupations that allow us to work from anywhere. They just granted the wish, so people now might prefer to go and work someplace next to the seashore or something, someplace beautiful.
yeah.
See, but bringing it back to me, I the question of would does it make sense to rent forever? Now, living in Australia, yes, there is actually I think RTA is a Queensland thing. Down here in Victoria, it's VCAT, and the regulations that these bodies put in place were a shock to most of us. Like when we came, it's like, hey, before you actually get into this house, you have to um inspect the house that you're getting in, then you have to apply. Then you have to prove that you can pay for the place. Then you have to pay, you have to commit to live in this place for a
Mm,
year at least. And at the end of the year, it's you can also commit again for the next year, and it's possible for the rent to change.
mm,
And all these things that they brought into place that were told to us, they have I have never gotten used to them, and I've rented a bit. I have never gotten used to them. But back at home, you find a rental and you live in the property for as long as you like, as long as you pay. You will never hear from your landlord. You might even never see them.
yeah.
It does not matter whether, I don't know, maybe when you start getting problems, then you contact them.
Mm,
And sometimes also them, they might not come to, say this or that. Sometimes you take on the the role of, let me fix this. I cannot live like this. And
yeah.
it's fine. So, but the question still remain, like, if I was back home, would I still be in a rented place? Like, would I still be renting? And the answer is no, because owning a home is, should I don't know whether to call it a milestone, but it's like a thing. It's your place, like, you have come to my home, my house, my rules, I know you can still say that in a rental, only and only if the landlord is not around. Because no, I don't know. There's stories about landlords who go like, today you cooked chicken and you haven't paid your rents. The owner will still always remind you that this is not your place. But
Yeah.
for me, I had many reminders. I don't want to call them reminders. I left Uganda really I don't know, I had just worked for probably a year and a half,
Mm,
and then yeah, and then I traveled. So I never lived there for long enough to be in a rental, and like I'd lived in a rented place, yes, for a long time, but for me as myself, I've never lived in Uganda alone on my own.
mm, mm,
So and considering my gender, it was never a problem. But I had people, the people I was living, one of the people that I was living with, I'm choosing not to mention what capacity,
Yeah, don't mention. Yes.
what capacity they hold in my life, because it is like a finger pointed at them as well. So they're like, this is not your place. You know, you there is nothing to show for the hard work. You know anything, and those words used to pierce hard, and I'm like, they sort of, I don't know, shaped my way of thinking that actually a place is only your place if you actually laid the foundation yourself and put the bricks upon each other bricks until the roof is up, and you put the doors and windows.
Mm,
Besides that, it is never your place.
mm,
And owning something, I don't know, I cannot put my finger on it as to why it's so important, because any catastrophe, if the lightning came, it will not choose a rented place over, you will
yeah.
also, but there is some significance that it holds to actually own your own place. And maybe you went to work and they're like, okay, this is what I got from the work that I
Mm,
did, and that
mm.
brings some sort of respect. You actually sit at the table and people listen. So, so for me, it is from, I don't want to call it peer pressure, but it is from the society, or the community that I grew up from. But also coming here when all these rules were put around, I'm like, nah, a human being cannot live like this. And convenience does come at a cost. It's clearly stated here in Australia, because when you look at your mortgage, you're like, this is rent plus rent
Mm.
times two, because there is council rents and all these other things that come through. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, cool, Robert.
Um, so I think you guys have put it like the context here is the location. Another context also is the situation. So for the situation is, are you a family person? If you're a family person with responsibility like kids and a spouse, um, maybe getting a stable place where you call your own may make sense, because that is for me what transcends the monetary value. Um, but also location, meaning like where is it? Like if I were in Uganda, definitely I don't think I would get a mortgage, right? Because it's easier to build there than to, you can get like a plot easily. I remember before we came here, we even like bought a plot, two plots all adjacent to each other. At the time, it was like 7 million each. Now, those two plots could be something like 100 million. And we wanted to build. And the
Mm,
cost to build there was going to be way cheaper. Um, so I think also the like building there to live because it's home may make more sense, because the intention there is like this is home really, but whereas this side there's still part of you that thinks like this is an investment, this is an asset that I can offset whenever I need. um so I think situation and location, for me, like sums it all. um my own thinking is when we all get to a point where we have abundance of revenue streams, or maybe then we can have more choices, whatever we
Mm,
want.
mm.
Um, you choose, like, look, I want to go and uproot my life and go and live, let's say, in Uganda for another 12 years. I don't have to worry about how they're taking care of the house or whatever.
Yeah,
So those are some of the considerations that I think is necessary for somebody to consider. But overall, I think somebody has to weigh the options.
yeah,
Situation and location, for me, those two actually make a lot of sense.
yeah, definitely. Situation, location matters a lot. And also what Emily touched on, that sense of achievement. Because like someone will ask you, you like here, there's free camping sites, right? Someone will ask, why don't you just go get a tent and live at the free camping site? I mean, you can, right? Like, and there's people who do this, right? Like different circumstances, different situations. For some of them, it's just like a sense of adventure, and it's like, no, look, I just want to be free. I want to move around and live. Like I know people who rent out their homes, or some of them sold them, and they downgrade to like a caravan, and then they just drive around, moving from town to town, having a bit of an adventure, and then continue. Actually, it's a very big thing here in Australia. You see people saying, "Oh, no, 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 I quit my job, sold the house. We've got the caravan, no more mortgage. Yeah, we are hitting the road. We'll homeschool the children and we'll figure it out." And it's a whole lifestyle choice. Uh, so I think these options are things that we should consider seriously. Though what I find, like, every time, so let's say somebody asks me, right, should I get a mortgage? Should I not? So I ask them, why do you want it? I said, oh, you have ones. Like, my reasons for getting mine are different. What are your reasons, right? And because I tell them, I always propose them, like, look, you don't really have to go into a big debt. You can always get like a $500 tent and go rent at a free camping site, and that will achieve the objective of having a roof over your head and a space that you're not paying for. But I feel like most of the time, people are not really, especially for us, like where we come from, like if you've grown up like in a collective cultural place, uh, that need for that stability of like, um, that one is what has you and is what's driving, like, and the way you said it, Emily, it's like, no, it's not really. It's not like, you live at someone's place. It's like, did you put the foundation there? Right? Did you bring up the walls? Is it? Yeah. It's very similar to that debate about having children, right? It's like, there are many ways to have children, right? Like, there's so many ways. But then people say, no, I want them to be mine, like my blood. What? that kind of thing. It's like you could adopt a child and you will have such a beautiful relationship with them. But you could also feel like the way you define child, my child, is very, like, your definition of that is very specific, and if somebody pushes you to the limit, you could actually reveal the details of that. And so I kind of get like, when people are driving towards this idea of like, let's get a thing, let me buy a house, it's not really a house. I feel like for most people, it's really about that sense of home. It's like, it's more like that drive of like, I just want to achieve my home in life. Right? I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
Um, I, y- like, you mentioned that thing of, you can just, maybe people are exploring that option of, like, sell, go and travel around the world, which could be around your country in a caravan. I think I want to do something like that. The only difference here is I don't want to drive. I don't want to drive. I just want to chill and let somebody drive. You know, um, the situation thing is for me something very, very important because I'm imagining when the kids are all grown
Mm.
and they're all pursuing whatever they want to pursue. So me and my partner, at that point, I think we can just do whatever we want,
Yeah.
technically, because then we don't have to worry about. I also believe that a home, you make what you make it to be a home.
Mm.
Um, Whether you're living in a rented place or in your own, I think a home is made. You just make it a home,
Mm.
you know. Um, and there are certain things that perhaps definitely will transcend financial gain, you know. Um, Even when you think from the business perspective, from investment perspective, there are some things that would definitely transcend monetary value.
Yeah.
So yeah, um, I want to drive one. I don't want to drive, but I want to travel around the world. But just I just don't want to drive. But I also don't want to just tent. Maybe rent a caravan.
Mm.
You know, I hear you on the, drive around or travel the world. And yeah, a few of those points have been, because I don't know who doesn't like travel. Everyone I've met wants to travel. He wants to see the world. And some of those questions or have been raised or in conversation someone has brought up. So when you have kids, will you try? Hey, by the time I have that child, I should have the money and the ability to travel with them and things like anyway, to the point of that was just a by the way, to the point of people, why don't I pitch a tent in the wild and sleep since it's a free place.
Mm.
Ah, have you felt that with the winter temperatures? Eh? I don't know whether you can survive out there in those temperatures. I think you'd still have to hold your job just to afford that, I don't know, heated blanket or something. I don't know. Um, but then, yeah, trying to have that sense of adventure has, and I do have that sense of adventure that has not taken away from I need to own
Mm.
a place of my own.
Mm.
I don't know. There is still that whole thing of, you know what? I have done this trip. I have enjoyed myself. I have seen these places. I have learned about the cultures in these different places. And I'm now going back home to a place. And, there's also that beautiful feeling of when I pay the mortgage, I am also contributing to my home. So when I don't sleep in that house, it's not like I am making. When I was renting, it just felt like I was making the landlord richer. How can I pay rent and then pay for a hotel someplace else? I just felt like, a double standard of sorts. But now I'm like, you know what? Yes, I am paying a hotel somewhere, but I'm paying also for I'm depositing in my account
Yeah.
besides, the extra interest that comes with it. And what, I don't know, before I owned, I, and okay, I guess the house still belongs to the bank, but the bank wants money, you know? It doesn't want your home. So that's why it's my home. Uh, Before I owned a place, it just felt like I had not achieved anything. Right now, I just feel like it's. I haven't yet gotten to the place of why don't I just let go of this place.
Mm.
I've always the things that come to my mind are more of, you know, let's let's see how this can make our lives better. Maybe we can turn it into an investment place. Maybe we can build our property portfolio. Maybe we can, venture into this. It has never been, let's lose it. Because,
Mm,
and with the work that is put in to get a home, I'm not the one who practically put the bricks together, but it sure felt like that while
yes.
signing those that signing those contracts and all those the paperwork that you have to go through and getting things. Oh my god! So it's not easy to let go of the things that you have, build. It's like a baby. You don't want to just let go of it.
Yeah.
It's so hard work. So yeah, that's my take.
That's very interesting. You've touched on there, like the hardships you had to go through to kind of like shift from being a civilian who just rents a house to switching your status to homeowner. Like, oh, I'm curious about that. Like, what are some of those hurdles that shocked you on that in that transformation? Because like I remember a time when I worked for a bank and it was very, very clear in their product packagings, right? It's like, oh no, this is for our esteemed homeowners. This is for everyone else. Those people, don't worry about them. But these guys are serious. If a homeowner complains about something, the bank is really, they take it seriously. They and they're always, trying to contain their homeowners and make them offers that make them stay around. And seriously, there's like two different citizens. Maybe they make B3. Like, you have like the regular person who does maybe sometimes a personal loan or a credit card. And then you have like the homeowner. And then you have the business person, right? It's like those are three different clients to a bank. Uh,
Yeah.
but and there's big, you'd say, very high hurdles to jump from one bucket to another, right? It's not so easy to jump from one to another. And so uh, I'm curious, like, what have some of those hurdles been for you guys, and what did you learn in the process of that transformation? Because it looks like once you switched, you stayed there. You didn't go like, no, I'm going back, right?
I know, and I actually have not a friend, an acquaintance, someone I know because I don't know, I've not talked to him in quite a while. They constructed a home, and immediately, like 3 weeks later, when they had given them the key, they sell it off. I'm like, how did you do that? Anyway, but the
I,
hurdles
I,
when it
yeah, I
comes
think.
to Australia, well, I'll talk about Victoria. First off, yes, I had that as one of my 5-year plan, own a home. Well, I was hoping to own it in Uganda at the time. And yeah, life happened and I chose to start with Australia. So uh, this person, they didn't know about my plan. They're Australian, just walks up, no, they're Ugandan, but they live in Australia. they, they walk up to me and go like, you should own a home. And at the time I was thinking, I don't have $500,000
Mm,
to own, the least, the basic, most, I don't know, smallest of homes in Australia. They go like, and I'm like, why do you say that? Why is it that easy? How much is it? What does it take? And it's like, you just need to have $1,000. I'm like, what?
what?
Are you sure? And he's like, yeah, you just need $1,000. Put it on a piece of land. They lock the price, and I don't know. A few days later, come and sign the contract. And I'm like, okay, this is easy. I am going to own a house. At the time, I did not have. I was not PR. I was not a permanent resident of Australia.
Mm,
And actually, later I found out that even if you're not a permanent resident, you can actually own a
mm,
home
mm,
at cost. I mean, this is the first world. Money, you can just do anything. So I'm like, let me first, get my permanent residence and let's have this chat again.
Mm.
So I get the permanent residence and I go put a down payment on a piece of land. And 1 week later, they're like, you need to come and sign that contract. And at contract signing, um, you're supposed to come up with 5%. I think it was 5% of the value of the piece of land.
Mm.
And I'm like, what? I was told it's like $1,000.
It's so then-
I didn't tell the salesperson. But I'm like, what? What happened to you? Just need $1,000. Anyway, so a week later, yeah, I come back and sign the contract, and there's this whole period. It's like I went land house package because there's another route where you can buy a house that is already built outright. But I went house land package because this person told me just need $1,000. Said, hey, you'll need time to save, which is save toward the deposit that you give to the bank so they can give you a loan.
Mm.
So I'm like, oh, perfect. So after signing, we wait. I wait. I wait and wait and wait and wait some more. So it's great to the savings. Yeah, the savings happened. So you get the ideal you need is about 20% to avoid the certain fees. So the 20% was amounted in that waiting period. But by the time you get to now get the home loan, you're like, this is not as exciting as it was. Like, 1.5 years have gone by. I'm waiting for titles to be released. There's this whole process, which I appreciate, by the way, because when you get to your house, there is a road, there is electricity, there is water, there's all the infrastructure that you need, which in Uganda is a different story.
Yeah.
So what happened? It so happened that actually COVID hit around the same time. So I decided, hey, why don't I construct in Uganda as well? And these things happened at the same time. I am still constructing. Oh
Why
my
why
god.
why are you constructing in Uganda?
Why? Why? Because it's a home. Why not?
Or you're building another home in Uganda?
Exactly. When I go home, I have a home to go to. I don't have to, landlords. May I live here? Anyway, so yeah. So we wait. I wait, and then the thing comes out. The land title comes out, and everything is set to go.
Mm.
And then you're like, okay, fine. When are you starting? Now that we're warming up for this race, it's like, hey, you have to pay community levy. You're like, what? It's like, okay, fine. So now I'm ready. Oh no, there is this fee. And you're like, okay, we've paid it. Okay, no, I think you need a tank. Or what is the house? I feel like I signed contracts that actually show that I'm supposed to get a house. I'm supposed to get this. I'm supposed to say, where are all these things coming from? All the hidden fees.
Mm.
It's like, where are all these things coming from? Eh, And yes, at the end of the day, the construction started. And the day I was handed the key, I felt like this was actually worth it,
Mm.
because I don't know how you feel about leaving Uganda when you're traveling from Uganda going to any other country. It's like when you appear at there is a gate at the airport. Before you reach there is a gate. Eh? They have to first check whether you're a criminal or a terrorist. So you're done with that checkpoint. Then you reach the door, like of the building, there is another checkpoint. Do you have a passport? How can I be at the airport without a bring your what is it? Then when you're done with that one, there is then another checkpoint for the airplane now. Your belt, is it, so that's how it felt with the house. It's like there is
Mm.
a checkpoint everywhere. Or the community, I mean the council requires that this is done, or
Mm.
this is required, or this paper has to be signed. Or do you like these door handles? Are you okay with this? Oh, by the way, there is a socket that there is a PowerPoint. They call them PowerPoints in,
Mm.
in my house that is in the most awkward of places. And this is all because someone did not tell me that, hey, read your plans, and every symbol matters. Every
Yeah.
small tiny symbol matters. The lights are yellow. Who wants warm lights in this? Okay, yeah, people do. I don't want warm lights. I got that. And it was all in the document. The cabinetry that I thought I agreed to is not the one that is. And they're making you sign these contracts. They're telling you any change you make, it's going to cost you this. And if you change it beyond this time, it's like triple the price.
Yeah.
Like, the house is already 500,000. That's an impossible amount to raise for the person that I am, like what I'm earning and everything. Why are these people making everything this difficult? And by the way, every state, then there is this whole thing of, hey, you have to inspect before they release the money. You have to say yes. They're explaining things, and you don't know what is going on. The construction here is a little bit different from
Mm.
back home. And they're telling you, oh, there is this PVC, and then there is this wire, and then there is this, and it's like, just, are you okay with that? Why would I not be okay? Or why would I be okay? You don't know.
Yeah.
And you're just saying yes, and then
Mm.
and then there is the stories of the builders.
Mm.
This builder has a poor reputation, this one is a great builder, this one is and you're like, yeah, I like this one, but my budget. Or you're like, okay, fine, now we have found the one that we want. Yeah, this one fits in my, yeah, where I sit. And then they tell you, oh, okay, this house that you're seeing, it has upgrades. You're like, what are upgrades? So upgrades are like 80,000 already. On top of that, 250 that is your budget, there is an 80 to get the house that you want.
Mm.
And now you're sitting down. Hey, how can we get back to our budget but still keep this quality? you know? And it's like, okay, fine, maybe uh do you really need that deep sinks? Like you have are you very organized to the extent that your kitchen will be empty? Eh? You might not need this. Let's just get the normal sink and the dish rack. It's like, that is going to look ugly. But your budget. Okay, fine. 2,000 off. It's like, do you really need the downlights? Do you really need do you really need the stone bench top? They're like, yes, I am in Australia. Why do I want to live like? It's like, but your budget, okay, 10 gone, until you get back to your budget. you know, at the end of the day, you've gone back to the basic house and hope that things don't fall out, because you learned from people's talk that, hey,
Mm.
some builders do poor quality. But I came to learn that they don't do actually poor quality things. It is the choice you made. Your money talks.
Mm. Mm.
You get what you pay for. So if you want the quality stuff, you actually have to
Invest.
have the money, and pay for it. And so at the end of the day, when you get that key and you sit in, oh no, no, that is not the end of the journey. Eh?
Mm.
Yeah, because you remember they give you a shell. You're
Now you have to buy furniture.
like, ah, where am I going to sleep? There are no blinds.
Yeah,
Everyone who is passing by, and you know the way they build here, even the doors have glass somewhere. Like,
yeah,
why? Can't I at least sleep in the corridor safely? No, you have to have blinds everywhere. Oh my god. So that those are the things that I had to, oh, it was also a realize. I don't know whether my parents actually went through that, because me, I feel like this was just no, they did not go through that because they don't live here.
mm,
And I feel like in Uganda there is a sense of community. You're going into your home, you see people bringing for you, but here I had to look for the bed sheets I was planning to throw away. You know, curtains until I get to put the blinds. You have
yeah.
to those stuff after paying all these out of pocket fees. You don't even have any to do it. Oh my. So that was quite interesting.
Wow, that's such a lively experience. Uh, yeah. Anyway, I'll first let Robert share his as well. And he seems like he has a lot to comment on this.
I think similar to Emily, um, at the time, because I also came with the Ugandan mindset, and then I realized things actually work differently here.
Mm,
For example, we were supposed to meet the lighting guys, and they was like, "You need to block like 3 hours." I'm like, 3 hours? Like, I'm very busy, right? Yo, 3 hours went by. I was annoyed at the end of it because of so many details that you know. So here is your corridor. By default, here is where the lights is. But would you want something on the wall? Do you want like a two switch kind of thing? Do you want a one to one? No, when you move, you come down the stairs, there's a light here by default, but this here might be dark. Would you want this? And then they show you the samples of the things. This is your default, but there are these options. In hindsight, I feel like that was worth it in hindsight. At the
mm,
time, I just didn't understand.
yeah.
Um, I also built a house at home, and I compared the experience with building here. I will choose building here any day, anytime. And also because of so many, for example, like in Uganda, unless you really want to build a luxury house or a professional house, you're most likely going to get homeboys and homegirls who are just, they went to technical school. Probably. That comes with its own problems.
Yeah.
It comes with their own problems that is completely not here. So the pre-production in the context of entertainment to build a house took over 8 months for us here. Like the planning, the little detail,
Mm,
like, oh, we're now discussing um, the tiles.
yeah.
Now, kitchen top, the granite stones. Now we're discussing the exterior. How about the foundation? We're discussing the roof, like everything. And then the approval processes that need to be done at the council level, at the estate level. Oh, no, no. The estate, they said you can't put this type of door. It has to comply with this. 8 months. And then they only took 4 months to build the house.
Mm,
4 months, so you're like, the house is ready. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, it's ready. But right now, I appreciate that process
mm,
because I know where we take 4 months in Uganda to plan, or even less, and then it takes 24 months to have a
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Even then, you don't have the house. So I had to build my mom a house, and I have to build it twice. The first
Wow.
one, they sent me literally, I couldn't believe it. So I had to get a different builder who came and did a retrofit,
Mm,
extend it.
mm,
By the time I was done, the house is unplastered up, and I was like, I don't want to deal with it anymore.
mm,
I just don't want to deal with it
mm,
anymore. So yeah, so that experience for me taught me a lot. I think also in hindsight, I don't want to build. I rather buy. No, I don't
mm,
want to build. Like I don't have patience. That's a problem. So, but the good thing is my partner had to do most of the work. I only requested for three things. Our shower. I didn't want the one where you just hang on the wall and whatever. I wanted the head, the shower head,
mm.
because I want to go in there and I want water, like literally water streaming on me. That
Like
was
rain.
non-negotiable. And then the other one is I needed a media room. Like I was like, that is a media room. I want a media room.
Mm,
And then the third one was really a very bad mistake. Very bad mistake. I told them like this bedroom is so big and I don't want when I'm getting up, I have to go all the way to the corridor and switch on the lights. I want like a switch on top of the bed. So when I want the light, I just even with my eyes closed, I just move my hand around and turn on the light or turn off the light. That worked so well in the first year. And then we get a humongous bed. A humongous bed. Now the bed head covers the switch. So every time I want to switch that thing, like I forget to switch off the light from the corridor, right? Now I want to switch off the light. I didn't have to stick my fingers like I was like, and then I said I was like, I'm in technology. Why did I even think of like light that I can control with an app? Those are all the mistakes that I wish anyway, in the event that I'm gonna do it again, I think I know better.
mm.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate the rigorous process. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you learn. You get to learn. You get to actually, find out the
Yeah.
things you care about, like,
Here's the
and
Yeah.
interesting one. Let me tell you the interesting one. So we went to the bank, right? And we're now signing the final paper, and they were like, "Yeah, we can bundle your house and content insurance into the mortgage, something like that. Like we give you a bundle, like
Mm,
you'll be paying X amount of money, and easily I can get you a discount." This is the lady. The lady was like, "I'm gonna call my boss. I know we can whip off 20% of this."
yeah,
And I was, yeah, happy. I was like, you have to do it. Like our house, we have spent so much, we have planned it so well. Even they're going to put a fire protector, you know. I just mentioned that as a passing. They're going
mm.
to put a fire protector. If anybody is listening to this podcast, when you're negotiating insurance, do not mention the word fire. So
What
we go
happened?
and wait, right? Like I'm where I was like, yeah, I think we're going to get 20 discount. Then the lady calls us like, you know, I think everything else was going well until you mentioned fire. That's like or fire is a no-go. Do not, even if you're like you're hot like what, do not mention fire when you're negotiating insurance. And that's how we lost 20% discount.
what?
Lessons learned. So don't
Oh,
speak if you have nothing to say. Yeah.
but that
I can't
was
forget that.
something. That was something to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Interesting experience though. Very
There was
yeah,
interesting.
it was a steep learning curve because like I share the same experience as you guys because I went through the very same like I do remember that information overload, especially when you're being asked what you want, right? Like, you know, growing up where I grew up, it's like you don't get to have what you want. You just take what you get, right? It's like if you're lucky enough to get something, thank God, right? But now it's like now you have to like really know what you want. It's like, am I allowed to even want? It's like, yeah, now you're allowed to. It's like, okay, but what is it? It's like, okay, now you have to start defining that checklist. It's like, coming up with Robert mentioned non-negotiables. It's like, what's your non-negotiables? It's like, is it the start switch behind the wall? Or is
That was
it?
dumb. That was dumb. Now I'm stuck with the switch there.
No, but all these non-negotiables, you have to define them. And like
And
Emily,
here's
you,
interesting about the switch. Sorry for cutting you.
that's
So
okay.
because it's a big bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I have my rocking chair. My rocking chair, the distance to walk from my rocking chair to the corridor is the same distance to walk from my rocking chair to the bed where the switch is, right?
Mm.
So now sometimes I'm just sitting, I'm like rocking in my chair, and I'm like, oh my god, it's dark. I need to switch on the light. So now I was like, should I go to the corridor? Should I go to the? I'm like, this. Where did you think of this?
And you could have used IoT, Internet of Things. Come on.
Yeah.
That was
You
in the upgrade. That was in the upgrade, That upgrade you
But
spoke
the
about.
shower though, the shower is good. When I'm stressed about that, I just go to the shower. The shower is good. I love it. And the media room, I've never stepped in it for the last 1 year.
what? It's interesting. So when I
But
was,
these are all learnings. I think the experience is worth it. Yeah,
yeah,
it
when
was
I
dreadful,
was
but I love it.
renting, yeah, when I was renting, there was an issue with the heating system
Mm,
in the house or the cooling system. There was actually no cooling system in any of the houses that I rented.
mm,
So when I was going through the paperwork for this house, yeah, that was an issue. I needed to have heating during winter. So
yeah.
it was at the top of my head. And at the end of it all, like I never had issues with blinds because the blinds existed. I
Mm,
never had issues with any other thing. Like, okay, I don't know. Having better carpeting or things like I never had issues with those things. So getting into this space and someone asks, "Where did you get blinds?" I'm like, "What? Well, I didn't know I could get something like that. But the heating system, I got that one on point because it was an issue.
yeah.
So now, if people when people ask me about this journey, I sort of tell them even the things that you see where you are right now,
Mm,
and you take pride in, like, not gonna take pride in, but you enjoy, and even if you like remember them and always talk about them.
yeah.
Think about where those PowerPoints are in your house. Are you always in the kitchen cooking? You probably want to charge your phone while you're cooking. Are you when you're seated in the lounge? Where which one is your favorite spot? Is there a PowerPoint? Because or where do you want the TV to be?
Mm,
You think about all these things because now you get the opportunity to design your own place. You
yeah.
okay? You go for volume housing, yes, but there are certain I don't know aspects of the house that belong to you. You have control over that
Yeah.
you did not have before. So I noticed some of the things that I learned was because of the pain, I just brought only the pain and I did not bring, the pleasure that I was getting from the and those things just, oh my God, I don't have this. This is not working. They put a PowerPoint at the top, like halfway up next to a closet. I'm okay. I don't use that room, but what are you going to use that PowerPoint for? The bed doesn't go there because there is a closet. There is you can't put a TV because there is a closet. It's like, why did they put that PowerPoint in that spot? And you could have just moved it because it's required in another different part of the room. Because hey, you're probably using electric blankets and stuff like that, and they go, either way.
Mm. Mm.
And it's just yeah, like I learned that you can have a conversation, you can negotiate about everything, and you can get some free stuff. I mean, my driveway was free, and the letterbox I didn't pay for that. And it's a great experience,
Yeah.
because it taught me that achieving something is not really about having the money for it. It's
Mm.
having the grit, like
Yeah.
choosing to want that thing and going through each challenge day by day until you get that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you've just reminded me of like recently something, after the storm came through. There's an exhaust fan that got blown off. And so I had to replace it. And so I'm digging up these plans and reading through. And I remember that whole journey you guys were talking about, like, oh, the color selection. Yeah, you have to speak to the designer and make sure things match the right way. And, you must know where all this detail should go. And I guess like part of me was going like, but can't they just tell me? Just tell me, right?
They've done this for a long time. They should know.
Don't you know, right? Just tell me. But if they just tell you, then you did what you can come back and say, it's you told me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I
And
guess
that's
that
and
ownership, right? Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
and, and that's the difference with, in Uganda, the builders would make the decision for you. And
Mm,
Mm,
then and you see, when you make the decision and you don't like it later, it's better than if somebody else made that decision for you and you don't
yeah,
like it.
yeah,
So you can live with your choices, but it's really hard to live with somebody else's choices, you know.
that's a very important point. Yeah,
So and that for me, I think, is one of the biggest consolations here. um there's also the level of a lot of the tradies, the ones who do either the foundation, who do the roofing, who do the walls and the tiles, and the compound. These guys, they treat their job with high esteem.
Mm,
Their pedigree, and you know they will do the best they can.
yeah,
Not somebody doing just to finish and go. They will do the best they can. Of course, there are some things that may not be quality, but as you say, quality costs.
yeah,
mm.
If you're going to pay for a motorbike, you don't expect a Mercedes. You pay for a motorbike. So,
yeah,
yeah, so they're not going to give you Mercedes. Whereas in Uganda, they promise you Mercedes and they give you a motorbike. That's the difference, you know.
They
yeah,
So,
even advise you, like you be like, this is what I want. It's like that won't work. This is because it's
yeah.
easier for them to construct. Oh,
yeah. But that's interesting because like now you after that experience, like for both of you, like when you went to do your construction, after being overwhelmed with all this, information overload, this decision making, this, you know, ramping up that steep learning curve of like all the detail. Now all of a sudden when you went back to construction, you guys like it was like you are too sensitive to all these details. Like, no, I want to know all of this, like, but you're not supposed to know. You're supposed to ask us, and we tell you what we can do, and you take it. Like, but I've had the experience of choice. Now I feel like I'm entitled to choice, and I
I
should.
know.
Yeah,
I know how the house should go. I know how to construct a good house is.
yeah,
It's like, why
yeah.
didn't you put this?
Exactly, I'm paying for this, and which is I think a hallmark for integrity, because then now they say information is what is it? Knowledge is power, right? There's a
Yes.
saying about knowledge is power. It's like, yeah, definitely, knowledge is power. Now that you've gained all this knowledge through this experience, it's like, I'm pretty sure if we all went back to do that experience again, oh, it would be so different, because like now we're wiser. We know all this information overload they're talking about. We understand the experience that they're trying to reconstruct, and we have our opinions, and we want to balance it. We can bring in our preference, right? But
Mm-mm.
but at first it was more like that excitement of like, oh my God, I get to get something. Whatever version of it you give me is fine. Just bring it. Like if you've been hungry for so long, and then there's food. It's like, what food? It doesn't matter. It's food. Just eat, right? But now you have a bit of a taste. It's like, oh, no, no, no. I don't eat carbs. It's,
Yeah.
right? What do you have? It's like, oh, we have some carbs and stuff. Oh, sorry, it's fine. I'll pass. It's like, oh, wait, now you get to choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, guys,
That's
I think we
amazing.
should bring this, yeah, we should bring this to a close. In the interest of time, this has been really so much fun and so insightful. Uh, Maybe you can all share some closing remarks, and then we sort of wrap it up.
I
Closing
will go. I
remarks.
will go. I think there's a lot of information out there for those who are looking for it. Um, but it's important to put context.
Mm.
Um, Earlier on, we spoke about situation and location. Is for me, age comes with a lot of experience, but also navigating through different things. Um, People will always have opinion depending on where they are and what kind of situation they are in. I think every experience should be treasured, however painful it is, or however easy it is, because then that is the only way for you to learn. Um, I wouldn't discourage anybody from building their own house, getting their own, or getting a mortgage, or saving to buy. I wouldn't, or choosing not to. I think a few years ago, I would strongly have an opinion that you need to get a mortgage or you need to build your house. But knowing what I know, I think that should come as a personal choice. Um, Either way, I don't think you're going to get it easy. Either way, it's not going to be easy. Whether you want to rent, you could argue that if I default my mortgage, I can apply for assistance. Like during COVID, you know, the bank may put a hold like, okay, all right, maybe pay interest alone, whatever. Rent might be a little bit tough, but there are also workaround depending on the location where you are. I know that even during COVID, some people who are renting and they couldn't maybe have jobs, there were different sources of help and stuff like that they was at their disposal. So I believe there is no specific blueprint, and there's nothing like one fits all.
Mm.
But if only one thing I could say is let experience, just have the experience. Then you have a better idea and a better opinion about something when you experience it. For me, the experiences of building in Uganda and building in Australia are completely two different experiences. I would always choose to build in Australia. That's my own personal choice. For somebody else, might be different. Thank you for having me, Clayton.
That's true. That's a really. I think you've just summed it all really nicely for all of us. Yeah. No. 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 I think knowing yourself as a person, because you might be the person who prefers access to, accessibility. Also, the situation, that you're in. might dictate the decision that you make around owning a home. So when you start the journey, please call me. I will hold your hand. It's really very interesting. I learned a lot, and I think just taking this journey has improved the way I look at money and how I define money. It's really a business. It's not a business transaction, but it's a money thing.
Yeah,
And there are very many people that I've heard that say owning having a mortgage is a trap in the sense that you're stuck at your job. I don't think that is true personally. I just feel like whatever path you take, whether you choose to own or not to own, it is hard, and it has its also advantages. It has its benefits. So you get to choose which advantages you want to take on, and you choose your hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a very good way of summarizing all that. There's like this. There isn't much more for me to add to all of that because, like, I'm in complete agreement with it, and I really want to take the time to appreciate both of you for coming on and sharing gladly. And I do hope like these stories help someone out there with their decision making. I don't know how much they'll help, but I just help them get the context, like contextualize what they have to deal with and appreciate that it's going to be different for everyone depending on what they're dealing with. I kind of feel like I have to put a disclaimer here, like, all the opinions we shared are just individual opinions and it's not financial advice because it's something like related to finance, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
just know these are just opinions and it's not financial. We're not finance
Yeah.
professionals.
It's
We're
fine.
Mm,
just speaking from our own, life
yeah.
experience and as we do here on the Quality Podcast. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one. All
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Emily. Bye,
right.
Clayton. Cheers.